Jack squinted at the screen in front of him, tapping the console with a mixture of frustration and resignation. His job as an engineer fixing intergalactic junkers was dull enough, but this time, he'd outdone himself in the arena of personal misfortune. Instead of signing up for a freelance gig fixing navigation systems, he'd apparently entered his personal data into a galactic matchmaking app. "Congratulations, Earthling!" a holographic voice chirped, startling him. "You've been matched with a prime combatant. Prepare for your responsibilities as her trainer and partner in the upcoming Galactic Arena Battle Royale." "What? No. I was looking for ship repair contracts, not, wait, combatant. Trainer?" Jack waved his hands at the hologram as if dismissing it would erase the absurdity. The voice continued, ignoring his protests. "Failure to fulfill the obligations of your engagement contract will result in penal labor and forfeiture of all Earth-based assets." Jack froze. "You've got to be kidding me. What obligations?" Before he could finish the sentence, another hologram appeared, this one depicting an imposing alien woman with glowing violet eyes, sleek silver skin, and an air of menace that screamed, "Do not mess with me." She tilted her head, studying him like a curious predator. "So you're the human?" she said, her voice a rich, velvety purr. What? No. Wait, hold on. There's been a mistake." Jack stammered. "No mistake," she said, crossing her arms, which only highlighted her powerful physique. "Zara of the Vorzith. Champion of 3 sectors. Your mate, apparently." "And mate?" Jack nearly choked on the word. "Look, I don't know how things work in your galaxy, but humans don't get engaged through paperwork errors." Zara raised an eyebrow. "Strange. The app clearly identified our compatibility. Unless your Earth dating traditions involve this much whining? This isn't a date." Jack waved frantically. "I was just trying to sign up for some freelance repair work, not this." "Regardless," Zara said with an exasperated sigh, "you are now legally bound to me for the duration of the arena combat. By Vorzith law, you are my trainer, responsible for ensuring I am victorious." "Trainer? Lady, I couldn't train a goldfish to swim." "You've got the wrong guy." She stepped closer, towering over him. "It seems you underestimate yourself, human. We have much work to do. And little time. Positions will need to be rehearsed." Jack blinked. "P-positions?" "For combat," she clarified, though her expression remained mischievously unreadable. "Unless your mind wandered somewhere else?" Never mind." Jack threw up his hands. "Look, can I just cancel this? There's gotta be a refund button or something. No offense, but this whole gladiator dating deathmatch thing isn't really my scene. Canceling would void your contract and result in immediate extradition to the arena penal pits." A third hologram piped up, this one a squat, bespectacled alien lawyer. "Penal pits?" Jack groaned, rubbing his temples. Zara smirked. "Then you have no choice. You'll assist me, and we'll win." "This is insane," Jack muttered under his breath. "Fine. What exactly do I have to do?" Zara looked him up and down, her expression both amused and doubtful. "We'll start with the basics. Do you know how to handle a Vorzathian plasma blade? Does a wrench count?" "No." "Well, this is gonna go great," Jack mumbled. Moments later, Jack found himself clutching what looked like an oversized neon pool noodle, Zara's idea of an alien weapon. It buzzed ominously, humming with latent energy. "Hold it steady," Zara instructed, standing behind him. She grabbed his hands, adjusting his grip. "You're holding the shaft wrong. Firm, but not too tight. Firm, but not too tight," Jack repeated, trying, and failing, to ignore the double meaning. "You'll need proper thrust to land an effective strike." She demonstrated, her movements fluid and precise. Jack awkwardly mimicked her, nearly falling forward. "Proper thrust, got it. Not like I've heard that before." Zara's lips twitched in amusement. "Your humor is strange, human. But we'll refine it. Yeah, you're gonna need to refine a lot more than that if you want me to survive this, Jack muttered. The training session devolved into a series of comical mishaps. Jack accidentally activated the blade's energy burst, nearly singeing his own hair. Zara sighed in exasperation, stepping in to correct him again. Stop flailing. Control your movements. I'm not flailing, Jack protested, wildly flailing. You fight like a drunken Yarvak, she said, smirking. Is that an insult? Because it feels like an insult. It's accurate. By the end of the session, Jack was drenched in sweat, his arms sore from trying to wield the absurdly heavy weapon. Zara, meanwhile, looked as composed as ever, not a strand of her metallic hair out of place. This isn't gonna work, Jack said, collapsing onto the floor. I can't do this. I'm not a fighter. I'm a mechanic. I fix things, I don't break them. Then fix this, Zara said simply, gesturing to the training equipment. Use your human ingenuity. Isn't that your strength? Jack stared at her, then at the weapon in his hands. An idea began to form, ridiculous but maybe just crazy enough to work. Okay, he said, standing up. You want me to fix this? Fine. But don't blame me when the solution's a little unconventional. Zara tilted her head, intrigued. Do your worst, human. Oh, trust me, Jack said with a lopsided grin. I will. Jack stood in the training facility, staring at the high-tech chaos in front of him. The room was packed with alien gym equipment that looked like something out of a sci-fi fever dream. A levitating combat dummy whirred to life, its glowing red eyes locking onto him like it was sizing him up for dinner. This is what we're working with? Jack asked, gesturing to the floating menace. Zara nodded. The combat simulators will help us refine our coordination. We need to be seamless, fluid, synchronized. Like two halves of the same blade. That's great in theory, Jack muttered, gripping the unwieldy plasma blade he'd been assigned. Except one half of this blade can't hold the damn thing without pulling a muscle. Then we will adapt, Zara said firmly. Your human weaknesses must be compensated for with strategy. Jack sighed. Weaknesses, huh? Glad we're building each other up as a team. The combat dummy launched forward, and Jack instinctively ducked, swinging the plasma blade wildly. The blade missed by a mile, and Jack stumbled, nearly falling over. The dummy, unimpressed, hovered in place like it was mocking him. Pathetic, Zara said, arms crossed. You're holding it too stiffly. Loosen your stance. Jack straightened up. Loosen it? I thought you just told me to keep it firm. Firm, but flexible, she clarified, stepping behind him and repositioning his hands. Control the energy. Don't let it control you. Firm but flexible, Jack repeated sarcastically. This really does sound like an alien yoga class. The dummy lunged again, and this time, Jack managed to parry the attack. Unfortunately, the force of the impact sent the blade flying out of his hands and across the room, where it lodged itself in a wall. Progress, Zara said dryly. Progress? I just disarmed myself, Jack shouted. At least you didn't fall this time. The rest of the training session wasn't much better. Jack's attempts to follow Zara's precise instructions were met with mixed results, most of which ended in either near injury or complete failure. When they moved on to sparring, things only got worse. Stop hesitating, Zara said as she blocked another clumsy swing. If this were a real fight, you'd already be dead. I'm sorry, I didn't grow up in a gladiator pit, Jack snapped, panting from the exertion. That much is obvious, she said with a smirk. Their sparring match was interrupted by a loud chime. A holographic announcer appeared in the corner of the room, its booming voice echoing through the facility. Attention, combatants! Galactic Arena training sessions are now being broadcast live to the Intergalactic Entertainment Network. Viewer ratings will directly influence your starting rank in the tournament. Smile for the cameras! Jack froze, his eyes darting around the room. Wait, we're live right now? Like people are watching this? Billions, Zara said nonchalantly, adjusting her stance. Billions? Jack's voice cracked. Oh, great. Now the whole galaxy gets to see me make an idiot of myself. You're already an idiot, Zara said. Now you'll simply be a famous one. The combat dummy reactivated, and Jack was forced to refocus. He managed to block its initial attack but quickly lost his balance, tumbling backward and landing flat on his back. The dummy hovered over him menacingly, its glowing eyes spinning. Do you yield? It asked in a robotic monotone. Jack groaned. I think I pulled something. The holographic cameras zoomed in on his defeated expression, and the broadcast cut to a compilation of his earlier blunders, complete with dramatic music and slow-motion replays. The caption read, Human combatant, can he survive? Zara sighed, extending a hand to help him up. This is embarrassing, even by human standards. Hey, I'm trying, okay? Jack said, brushing himself off. You think this is easy for me? I'm an engineer, not a fighter. I don't know how to swing a sword or dodge laser beams or... Then stop thinking like a fighter, Zara interrupted. Think like an engineer. Jack blinked. What? Your strength lies in problem solving, she said. If you can't fight like a warrior, fight like a human. Use your mind. Adapt. Jack looked at the combat dummy, then at the scattered tools and equipment around the training facility. Slowly, a grin spread across his face. Okay, he said. You want me to think like an engineer? Fine. Let's make some modifications. The next hour was a blur of activity. Jack scoured the facility for spare parts, duct tape, and anything else he could get his hands on. Zara watched skeptically as he rigged the plasma blade with a makeshift stabilizer and attached a small propulsion unit to the handle. What is this supposed to do? She asked. Give me an edge, Jack said, holding up his modified weapon. Literally. When the combat dummy attacked again, Jack activated the propulsion unit. The blade shot forward with surprising speed, slicing through the dummy's outer casing before boomeranging back to his hand. Not bad, Zara admitted. Not bad? Jack said, grinning. Come on, that was awesome! Their training session continued, this time with Jack relying on his engineering ingenuity to level the playing field. He rigged the dummy with extra sensors to predict its movements, modified the gym equipment to simulate real combat scenarios, and even created a makeshift shield out of an alien treadmill. By the end of the session, Jack was sweaty, exhausted, and covered in minor bruises, but he felt a newfound sense of confidence. Well? He asked, looking at Zara. Think we've got a shot? She smirked. You're still clumsy, weak, and hopelessly human. But perhaps there's potential. I'll take it, Jack said with a chuckle. Unbeknownst to them, their training antics had gone viral across the galaxy. The intergalactic entertainment network was flooded with clips of Jack's creative problem-solving, paired with Zara's exasperated commentary. Alien viewers couldn't get enough of the odd couple, dubbing them the dynamic disaster duo. Jack had no idea what kind of storm awaited them in the arena, but for the first time, he felt like maybe, just maybe, they had a chance. The day of the Galactic Arena tournament arrived, and Jack found himself standing in the preparation chamber, sweating bullets. The crowd's deafening roar echoed through the walls, a cacophony of alien cheers and jeers. Zara stood beside him, calm and composed, her silver skin gleaming under the artificial lights. Why do I feel like I'm about to die? Jack muttered, gripping his modified plasma blade. Because you probably are, Zara replied without missing a beat. Great pep talk, Jack said, rolling his eyes. The arena announcer's voice boomed overhead. Welcome, citizens of the galaxy, to the event of the cycle. Today, we bring you the unlikely duo that's taken the intergalactic entertainment network by storm, the dynamic disaster duo. Jack groaned. They're really sticking with that name, huh? Zara smirked. It suits you. The chamber doors hissed open, revealing the massive arena. The battlefield was a surreal mix of shifting platforms, glowing hazards, and holographic projections designed to confuse and disorient. Jack swallowed hard as they stepped onto the field, the blinding lights making it impossible to see the crowd. Their opponents appeared on the opposite side of the arena, a hulking reptilian beast with 4 arms and a smaller, insected creature with razor-sharp pincers. Both looked like they'd been born and bred for violence. "Fantastic," Jack muttered. "They've got muscles on their muscles, and we've got me." Zara gave him a sidelong glance. "Don't forget to use your human ingenuity." "Right, because duct tape and hope are really gonna save us here." The announcer's voice rang out again. "Combatants, prepare for battle. Remember, victory is achieved through either incapacitation or exceptional chemistry." Jack froze. "Wait, what was that last part?" Before he could process it, a loud gong signaled the start of the match. The reptilian beast charged forward, its massive claws swinging. Zara met it head-on, her movements a blur as she dodged and counterattacked with precision. Jack, meanwhile, found himself face-to-face with the insected creature, which let out a shrill, chittering battle cry. Hi," Jack said, holding up his blade. "Listen, I'm new to this whole gladiator thing, so if we could just—" The insected lunged, its pincers snapping inches from his face. Jack yelped and scrambled backward, activating his blade's propulsion unit. The blade shot forward, slicing through one of the creature's pincers before returning to his hand. "Ha!" Jack shouted, surprised by his own success. "Take that, you overgrown bug!" The insectoid hissed and lunged again, forcing Jack to duck and roll out of the way. He glanced over at Zara, who was locked in a fierce battle with the reptilian beast. Her movements were a dance of calculated aggression, every strike and dodge perfectly timed. "Zara!" Jack called out, narrowly avoiding another attack. "Little help here?" "You're holding your own," she replied without looking at him. "Barely!" The insected creature lunged again, and Jack activated the shield he'd cobbled together from spare parts. The alien treadmill turn force field absorbed the impact, and Jack used the momentary distraction to strike back, landing a glancing blow on the creature's thorax. Meanwhile, Zara managed to land a devastating strike on the reptilian beast, forcing it to retreat. She turned her attention to Jack, who was still fumbling his way through the fight. "Keep moving!" she shouted. "You're too predictable." "Predictable? I'm just trying not to die." The insected creature lunged once more, and Jack decided to try something unconventional. He activated the propulsion unit on his blade and threw it like a boomerang. The blade arced through the air, slicing through the creature's remaining pincer before returning to his hand. "Holy crap, that actually worked!" Jack exclaimed, his adrenaline surging. "Don't get cocky," Zara warned, moving to stand beside him as the reptilian beast re-entered the fray. The two of them faced their opponents together, their movements slowly beginning to sync. Zara's precision and Jack's unpredictable ingenuity created a chaotic but effective fighting style. The crowd roared as they gained the upper hand, their combined efforts forcing their opponents into a defensive position. "You're improving," Zara admitted, blocking a strike from the reptilian beast. "Thanks," Jack said, parrying an attack from the insectoid. "I think I've finally figured out my role here." "And what's that?" "Not dying." The fight reached its climax when Jack activated a hidden feature he'd added to Zara's weapon, a temporary energy overload that amplified its power. She struck the reptilian beast with a devastating blow, sending it crashing to the ground. Jack, meanwhile, used his modified shield to trap the insected creature, pinning it against one of the arena's glowing hazards. The crowd erupted into cheers as their opponents were declared incapacitated. The announcer's voice boomed once more. "An incredible victory for the dynamic disaster duo! Their chemistry is undeniable!" Jack collapsed onto the ground, breathing heavily. "Chemistry, huh? I feel like I just survived a car crash." Zara extended a hand to help him up. "You did well, human. Perhaps you're not entirely hopeless." "High praise," Jack said with a weak grin. As they exited the arena, the crowd continued to cheer, their victory solidifying their status as unlikely fan favorites. Jack couldn't help but feel a strange mix of pride and disbelief. They'd won, against all odds. But as they returned to the preparation chamber, Zara's expression grew serious. This was only the first match, she said. The challenges ahead will be far more dangerous. Jack nodded, his exhaustion giving way to determination. Then I guess we'll just have to keep figuring it out as we go. Zara smirked. Spoken like a true disaster. Jack chuckled. Hey, disasters can still win, right? For now, she said, her tone teasing but her eyes betraying a hint of respect. Jack didn't know what the future held, but for the first time, he felt like they might actually have a shot. If nothing else, they were in this together, and that was enough. Back in the holding quarters, Jack sat on the edge of a bench, his legs jittering uncontrollably as he tried to calm himself down. The adrenaline from the fight hadn't worn off, and the reality of what they were up against next was sinking in. Zara stood by the window, staring out at the distant glow of the arena's central hub, where the tournament's elite competitors prepared. You're quiet, Jack said, breaking the tense silence. Not like you. I am thinking, she replied, her tone distant. That's what worries me. She turned, her expression unusually serious. The next match won't be like the last. We'll be facing combatants with decades of experience. Warriors who've trained their entire lives for this. Great, Jack muttered, leaning back. Any other good news you want to hit me with while you're at it? Zara walked over, her piercing eyes locking onto his. Do not underestimate them. They will target you. They will exploit your weaknesses. If you falter, even for a moment, we will lose. Jack laughed nervously. Well, thanks for the confidence boost. I'll just go ahead and not sleep for the rest of my life. She sat down beside him, the weight of her presence grounding him. You've proven that you can adapt. You've used your human ingenuity to overcome challenges that seemed insurmountable. That is your strength. Do not forget it. Jack sighed, running a hand through his hair. Yeah, but ingenuity only gets you so far when the guy across from you has 6 arms and a face that looks like it eats nightmares for breakfast. Zara tilted her head, studying him. Why did you come here, Jack? Why risk your life for someone you barely know? He hesitated, caught off guard by the question. Honestly? I don't know. Maybe it's because I've spent my whole life playing it safe. Fixing machines, keeping my head down, avoiding anything remotely risky. But when I saw what was happening to you, how unfair it all was, I couldn't just walk away. I guess I wanted to prove to myself that I could do something that mattered. Her expression softened, a rare flicker of vulnerability crossing her face. You have. Before Jack could respond, a loud chime signaled the arrival of a message. A holographic screen appeared in the center of the room, displaying the faces of their next opponents. 2 towering, armored figures with glowing weapons and an aura of sheer menace. Meet your next challenge, the announcer's voice boomed. The reigning champions of the Galactic Arena, Gorlak the Unyielding and Vexra the Voidbringer. Jack's jaw dropped. Voidbringer? That's not a name, that's a death sentence. They are formidable, Zara admitted, her tone grim. Formidable? They look like the final bosses of a video game I'd quit halfway through. Zara ignored his outburst and began strategizing aloud. We must exploit their weaknesses. Gorlak is a brute, heavily armored but slow. Vexra is agile but relies on ranged attacks. If we can separate them, we stand a chance. We? Jack raised an eyebrow. Last I checked, I'm just a guy flailing around with a glorified laser pointer. You're more than that, she said, standing. You've already proven it. Now prove it again. The time for their match arrived far too quickly for Jack's liking. As they stepped into the arena, the atmosphere was electric, the crowd's energy palpable. Their opponents stood across from them, exuding confidence and power. The match began with a deafening gong, and Gorlak charged forward like a freight train. Jack barely had time to react, diving out of the way as the ground shook beneath the beast's massive feet. Stick to the plan, Zara shouted, engaging Vexra in a high-speed duel. What plan? Jack yelled back, scrambling to his feet. Gorlak turned his attention to Jack, swinging a massive, glowing hammer that shattered the ground where it struck. Jack activated his shield, narrowly blocking the impact, but the force sent him skidding backward. Okay, think like an engineer, Jack muttered to himself. How do you take down a walking tank? His eyes darted to Gorlak's armor, noticing the exposed joints between the massive plates. An idea formed, and he quickly adjusted the settings on his plasma blade. When Gorlak charged again, Jack dodged to the side and aimed for the joint in the creature's knee. The blade struck true, sparks flying as the armor buckled. Gorlak roared in pain, stumbling but not falling. Jack took the opportunity to keep moving, staying just out of reach while landing quick, calculated strikes on the weak points of the armor. Meanwhile, Zara and Vexra's duel was a dazzling display of speed and skill, their weapons clashing in bursts of light. Vexra unleashed a flurry of energy blasts, but Zara's movements were impossibly fluid, weaving through the onslaught with precision. Jack! Zara called out. I need an opening. Working on it, he replied, narrowly avoiding another swing from Gorlak's hammer. Thinking quickly, Jack activated the propulsion unit on his blade and launched it toward Vexra. The unexpected attack forced her to dodge, giving Zara the opening she needed. She closed the distance in an instant, delivering a devastating blow that sent Vexra crashing to the ground. With Vexra incapacitated, Zara turned her attention to Gorlak, who was still focused on Jack. Together, they coordinated their attacks, exploiting every weakness in the brute's armor. Jack distracted Gorlak with his modified shield while Zara delivered precise strikes, slowly but surely wearing him down. The final blow came when Jack activated a hidden energy surge in his blade, driving it into the exposed core of Gorlak's armor. The giant let out a thunderous roar before collapsing to the ground, defeated. The crowd erupted into cheers, their voices shaking the arena. Jack fell to his knees, completely spent, while Zara stood tall beside him, her expression unreadable. The announcer's voice boomed once more. An unbelievable upset! The dynamic disaster duo has done it again! Jack looked up at Zara, his chest heaving. We actually won. She extended a hand to help him up. You doubted me? He chuckled weakly. Never. As they exited the arena, the crowd's cheers still echoing behind them, Jack couldn't help but feel a strange mix of pride and disbelief. They had faced the impossible and come out victorious, proving that even the most unlikely team could rise to the occasion. But deep down, he knew this was only the beginning. The challenges ahead would be even greater, and their bond would be tested in ways they couldn't yet imagine. Still, for the first time in his life, Jack felt like he was exactly where he was meant to be. And with Zara by his side, he was ready for whatever came next.